welcome back to another episode of the Be Him Fit podcast. I'm Trevor. This is my brother Brian. How's it going?
Good, man. Good. Glad to be here. Happy to be here. Love this hour we have every single week. It's one of the highlights. So
It
yeah.
it as absolutely is for me as well. But what are we talking about today? What's on the
So
agenda?
yeah, I think like we're gonna switch it up just a little bit. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. But we've been talking a lot about the fitness world, wellness, and what I mean by that is calories and dieting and fitness programming and weightlifting and cardio and all those things. But as you know, Trevor owns a weight loss clinic, and that's been a big thing over the last several years of these new medications that are helping people drastically change their lives by losing weight, and we're gonna kind of dive into that world a little bit today, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we're gonna try to switch roles here. I'm not as good as Trevor as a moderator, right? I can just ramble about anything fitness for until you guys are blue in the face and just telling me to shut up. So, but we're gonna switch roles here, and so let's see if I can I can maybe ask the right questions, and I'm confident Trevor has the knowledge to be able to answer those. So, anyway, tell me a little bit about these weight loss drugs, Trev. Like I know there's a few out there. What's the differences? How do they benefit? What's the benefits? Any side effects? Like, just give us an overview.
Yeah. So there are two main medications that we talk about, and the first one most people have heard of is called semaglutide. The brand name is Ozempic. Wegovy is the non-diabetic version, but they're the exact same medication. When someone talks about, weight loss medications, they're generally thinking about semaglutide, which is a fantastic medication as far as weight loss goes. It's what kicked off this weight loss medication craze because it actually works. So semaglutide was the first one that was really, I don't know what the word is, I don't want to say pushed, but like it's what has really started off this whole weight loss injection craze.
How, like, let me ask you this question. How
Yeah,
was that? Like, how did they decide that semaglutide was going to be a weight loss drug? Like, what? Like, because if I don't know a lot about it, but I'm pretty sure its intention wasn't to be a drug that helped you, or a medication, let's say, that helped you lose weight, right? It
right.
was something else. And how did they find that? And how did that then become something that was like, okay, this actually works? How are we going to market this, and how are we going to prescribe this to our patients who need help with that?
Right. Well, so originally, it was used as an aid for type 2 diabetes in adults. It's
Yeah.
been around, semaglutide, it's one of those peptides. It's called a GLP-1.
Yep.
It's found in your stomach. It's there naturally, and it is used to boost, uh not boost, it's used to help manage insulin levels in diabetes patients
Sure.
and diabetics. So
Yep.
they've had this around for 15 years and it's been helping them, but over the last 15 or 20 years they've noticed, the side effects of what it does is it helps, slow your gastric emptying, meaning it keeps the food in your stomach longer. It helps, control your insulin. It helps you manage cravings, and it helps um, signal your brain that you're full. It sends a signal to the hypothalamus in the brain. And so it's working on a whole bunch of different levels. And like I said, it's originally intended to help diabetic patients.
Yeah.
And I'm not 100% clear if, I'm not the full expert, but I don't know if they necessarily started off saying, hey, I bet if we gave this to someone who was, pre-diabetic or overweight, but not quite pre-diabetic, they would lose weight. Um, or if they said, hey, we've noticed we've been giving this to some, diabetics, new type 2 diabetic patients, and they've been losing weight and reversing that. But eventually, over the last 15 years, they've been, they've seen the benefits of it, and the FDA approved it to be used as a weight loss medication. And, once they did the research and proved that it was safe for that, they have been rolling that out because it works, because it has helped lower, um, patients on it who are overweight have been able to lose, 13% of their body weight on it.
Wow.
Um, and so it did. It started out as a diabetic thing, and I want to point out that that's a really good thing. It's not something new. There have been a lot of medications over the years that have been intended um for weight loss that weren't safe. There's, the one I can think of is called fen-phen, and I don't exactly know what it was. I know it was like a combination of two things, and this is a tangent, but let's get into it.
Okay.
Uh, if you've heard of phentermine, that's an appetite suppressant, and it's safe to use. It's been around for a while, but I can't remember what the other thing was. But it was phentermine and something else, and that's where fen-phen came from.
It wasn't fentanyl, was it?
I don't think it was fentanyl.
I mean, that would be a little outrageous,
That
but
would be it would be a little
I guess
outrageous.
as we're talking about this, that's the other fen, that comes in mind is fentanyl.
If
So let's hope for everyone's sake that wasn't the case, and it sounds like it wasn't. But
let's
anyway,
hope it wasn't. I've been wrong before. I know we, at the law firm I work at during the day, there was a time where everyone and their dog was suing over, class action fen suits, and
oh really? Dang.
and it was a really big deal because it caused massive heart problems, and
Yeah.
it worked, but then these
Good guy.
people were, yeah, dying. And so anyway, that's the thing that you worry about when you take a medication like this is what are the long-term side effects? What, is it safe? Is it something that we should be taking? Well, the good news is the active ingredient one is naturally found in your stomach.
You said it was an amino acid, right?
Yeah, it's peptide. It's called a
Or a peptide,
glucogen.
which peptides are a combination of amino acids. Yes.
Right, right. So it's
Which
called
amino
the,
acids are something that naturally occurs in our body. You get it through your food, all those things. So
yeah,
that's very encouraging because it is natural. The
it
main
is
ingredient is something that our bodies already know how to consume, produce in some instances, depending on what
absolutely.
or the amino acid is. So yeah, that's really great.
Absolutely. So it's there. It's already something that your body produces. And I don't know if this is a theory or not, but one of our doctors at the clinic thinks that eventually you're going to be able to do a blood test on people and be able to see what your level of this GLP-1 is
Yeah.
in your body. And
Like I should know this because that's a like but you can't test that right now in
I
in blood tests.
I don't know if it's testable right now, but the way that our doctors have talked about it is it's not quite there yet where you can see that level. But I could be wrong. But the doctor, he didn't the one that talks about it doesn't seem to think right now it's a thing. So I assume that's not a normal
Okay.
blood panel test. Like, you go in and get your blood work done. They don't test for that. But eventually they're going to, and it would be interesting to see if there is a correlation between, I don't want to say a chubby person and a skinnier person, but like if you can see like you compared to, one of our uncles or, someone in our I was skinny. If 310-pound Trevor and you had the same test, would your GLP-1 level be higher in your body than it was in mine at the time? Or,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, but I digress. The good thing is, one, it's an amino acid. It's a peptide that's found in our body, glucogen-like peptide one. I don't know what that means necessarily, but I know it's there. I am not a scientist, so I can't break down the specifics, but I know it's found naturally in your stomach. We are boosting this with the medications, and then we've been using
So,
it.
so this medication is like, in theory, maybe I'm overstepping here, or maybe oversimplifying is a better word. Is it's a supplement,
It is.
right? Like we already produce it. It's already found in our bodies. We know that you know this type of amino acid or peptide creates or causes these types of results. So let's inject more, or let's increase our body's ability to take that peptide and then translate it into the results that it would have, naturally.
Yes, as far as I am aware, that is exactly what's going on.
Okay.
Um, and of course, I don't know if the FDA would classify it as a supplement necessarily, but
Maybe in theory, right?
in
For
theory,
sake
you are
of,
supplementing it. But it's
yeah,
not like I can go to to GNC
GNC by,
and buy it. It is a prescription
it
medication
is
for
it
a
is
reason.
regulated by the FDA, right?
Mhm.
Require prescription, like a lot of medications do, but still,
But still,
yeah.
that in theory, yes, that is exactly
Like
what we're doing.
that makes, for me, who doesn't know a lot about it and who's very weary of what I consume and what I put in my body, the fact that it is a supplement versus just some synthetic medication
Right,
makes me, personally, if I were to ever want to go down that route, like feel a lot more confident in
right.
its efficacy and its healthiness and its long-term effects on my well-being versus something that's synthetic or man-made by, big pharma.
Right. No, absolutely. And that's, one of the reasons I am comfortable, you know, with the idea of the weight loss clinic is because it's something natural that we are like you said, we're supplementing what is already in our stomach. Um and so that's the first one. And like I said, it's been around for 15 years. We have data 15 years of use to make sure that it is not harmful.
Mhm.
Um, with the caveat, they have found, one, if you have, uh, oh gosh, there are like three categories of people that can't take it. One, if you're pregnant or lactating, you can't
Okay.
take it. They don't know necessarily if it is harmful to a fetus or or the pregnant wife, but there were some indications it could be, and in that instance it's like, well, we're not going to risk it. We're not
Yeah.
gonna you
Yeah.
know
It,
the
it, it,
other
it may or may not, but it's not worth the risk of,
it's not worth the risk, and
don't have enough research,
they don't
maybe.
have enough research on it,
It's,
but the indication was it could be harmful.
yeah,
And so it's not something that we're testing. We're just saying
just
anyone who is pregnant or lactating, until you're done, we're not going to prescribe it.
it's fair.
Um, then there is gosh, now I can't remember if it's pancreatitis or something else. Um,
Meaning someone
gosh,
who has pancreatic cancer or something like that. They're trying
yes,
to,
history of pancreatitis and history of thyroid cancer. Um, and I don't know the exact names because I am not a doctor, and that's why we have to have every one of our patients screened and speaking to a licensed physician
yeah,
or PA to, prescribe this and make sure it's taken responsibly. But they there's a rare cancer that if you've had it, you can't take it, and you would know, the doctor would say, do you know this, whatever, something something cancer type 2 or whatever, and
you had it, you'd
if
know.
you had it you would know. But history of pancreatitis, history of thyroid cancer, those two things, those are the main things we talk about. For most normal people, if you've had one of those, a doctor won't risk it because it can increase the chance.
So just so I'm clear, there's three, like, I don't even know what you want to call them, buckets of people that can't use these types of drugs.
Yes.
Well, it's pregnant or lactating, pancreatitis, or a type of thyroid cancer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But
And
anyone else at this point can.
anyone else at this point can,
Is there an age
provided.
limit? Like, have they looked into like adolescent use of this type of drug for those that are, obese or overweight, or is this something that's like, let's see if there's other methods of getting our body to where we want it and having a healthiness and a wellness before we go to these types of medications.
Yes. So the two things that we talk about are, of course, age. Is it appropriate for, a 14 or a 12-year-old to be on it? Probably not. Um, Once again, I am not a doctor, so I don't make that decision, but it is a rare instance where we have a 16 or a 17-year-old come in and our doctor says, "Sure, I'm willing in this case to prescribe it or not," because the doctor takes, the risk
Yeah.
of malpractice or,
Negligence or whatever.
negligence or whatever. So they have to decide if it is appropriate. As far as I'm aware, there isn't anything that says you have to be 18 years or older to,
Okay.
but it really depends on the doctor, and most of our patients are older, people who have tried other things to lose weight first. And so it really just depends. It's a case by case thing for age. The other thing though is generally speaking, you need a BMI of over 30.
Okay.
Um, and once again, that is the doctor will go case by case with you, as BMI is not necessarily, an accurate form of whether you're really obese or not or whatever, but it's a baseline. So
Yeah,
we,
it's a data point for sure. And I think, like, as a
Mhm,
doctor's, I would assume as a doctor's gathering all the different information that the patient is giving,
mhm.
they can use BMI. I mean, like, because I
Yeah,
probably have a BMI close to 30, honestly.
right,
Just based on my height and my size, but I
right.
wouldn't consider myself overweight or obese. So
No, not at all. And a doctor would look at you and say, Brian, I don't think you're a candidate, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But someone who, my age or my height and my weight, they might say, "Oh, yeah, you could be a candidate." Or maybe 40 pounds ago I would have been a candidate, um but those are the things that they look at first, and then of course the disqualifiers of, are you pregnant?
sure.
Have you had pancreatic, history of pancreatitis? Have you had these types of cancers? Um, thyroid issues. The best advice I have is, if you think you might qualify or want to know, a physician, talking to your family physician, or coming into a clinic like ours for a free consult, that would be the best choice.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
then you'll know for sure. You can Google, and there's a lot of great information, but it comes down to, is a competent licensed physician, who's been trained to look at, all of these data points and see
sure.
if you are a candidate, can determine if you are a candidate or not.
Yeah, no, I think every situation is unique, right? Like, whether
Yep.
that's in your instance where people are coming to your clinic and wanting to look into semaglutide or tirzepatide
Hmm.
as a supplement or medication to help them with their weight loss journey, or even if it's, a fitness client that's coming, to me, who isn't considering that. Like, every case is so unique.
Yes.
One size certainly does not fit all.
Right.
So it's like, okay, like, that's why like, I think I've been an advocate of having a coach, a fitness coach,
Mhm.
a couple of these podcasts, if not every one of them. And it's
Right.
not because I'm trying to promote business and I want people to come to me as a coach, but it's because your circumstances and your goals and everything, that comes into that is so unique that, yeah, you can go out and search on the internet or go to chat GPT and put in whatever question you want and get so much information. But is it really specific, and is it, the optimal plan or programming for you?
Right.
And I feel really stupid to say this, but my computer is going to die. So let me go grab the charger so we don't get disconnected. And then
All
I got
right.
other questions to ask you real quick.
Okay, great. Yeah.
All right. We are back.
All right.
So,
Now, before you ask your next question,
yeah.
you mentioned Tirzepatide, and that's something I wanted to talk about, and we
Yeah.
kind of got off on it.
That was the other question, because I know there's the two, right? There's
Yep.
Ozempic, and I don't remember the generic name or the brand name, and there's Tirzepatide, and I don't remember the brand name on that either. But they're two different medications or supplements, but they serve the same purpose, or is there a big difference between the two? Why would one patient be prescribed one over the other? Like, give us a little insight on that, Trev.
Yes. So uh, Ozempic, Wegovy, and Semaglutide. Semaglutide is the generic name.
Okay.
They are all have the same active ingredient, GLP-1.
Okay.
The other one is Tirzepatide, and the two brand name medications are Mounjaro, and that's the one they did for diabetics, and
Yeah.
then Zepbound is, from the same company, the same whatever, but that's the weight loss branded one.
Yeah.
But the active ingredients, there are two peptides instead of one in Tirzepatide. They take GLP-1, the semaglutide, that same peptide that's in semaglutide and Ozempic, and then they add something called GIP. Now, I don't remember what GIP stands for, but it's another peptide that's found in your stomach. And so
Okay.
you're attacking it from two different directions,
Okay.
and it increases the amount of weight you can lose, the effectiveness. It lowers the side effects that
Really?
Ozempic has,
Hmm.
and they have found that patients on Ozempic generally lose around 13% of their body weight. Um, you can lose up to 20% of your body weight on Mounjaro in the same amount of time.
Okay. So let me ask a follow-up question there. Why would anyone then take Ozempic or semaglutide over Mounjaro / Tirzepatide?
A couple of things. A lot of it is price related.
Okay.
Um,
I'm assuming Mounjaro Tirzepatide is more expensive.
it is. It is
Okay.
newer. It has another active ingredient. It
Yep.
is. It is more expensive.
Okay.
Um,
Price is one.
Price is one. Some people react poorly to the, GIP added to the added to the GLP-1.
Okay.
So they, rarely are they, the same, I guess.
So
That didn't
so
make any sense.
no, it did make sense for sure. Like, there's adverse reactions. Some people respond differently and more
Mhm.
effectively to certain medications. So if I'm a patient that's coming into your clinic and is looking for one of these weight loss supplements or drugs, medications, whatever we want to call them,
Yep.
is it kind of a rule of thumb, like, let's try the Ozempic and see how you respond, and then if we don't see the results that we want, we can try Mounjaro or Tirzepatide? Or is it that's not how it works? It's kind of more case by case, like we've talked about before.
It's more case by case like before. A lot of it depends on, how much do you need to lose? How much, when they come into our clinic, it's, how much, can they afford? That sounds like it's a mercenary kind of situation, but it's like, we start out at, 200, 225 for semaglutide per month, but Tirzepatide costs us a lot more to get from the pharmacy, so we start at, 375
Yeah.
per month. And
Yeah.
then it only goes up because the pharmacies charge us more the higher the doses go. So, it's a lot of times it's like if the prices were the same, probably 9 times out of 10, we would recommend Tirzepatide, Mounjaro, Zepbound to everyone.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's not a viable thing.
Okay.
People can't afford that. They take what they can get. Um, and really, it is a case by case thing. Sometimes uh, people don't react well to the Tirzepatide, so we give them the Semaglutide, and they
Mm.
do just fine. Some people, you know, do Semaglutide and then move over to the Tirzepatide and have infinitely better results. And
Yeah.
it just depends on, each case by case thing and the person's own, financial background, health background, and they really talk about it with the doctor and then make a decision.
Okay. So you mentioned something that I don't know if this is what it was intended to be or this is what you were implying, but you mentioned that they don't react as well to one versus the other. Is that because of side effects? What are the side effects of each one of these medications? Can you touch and enlighten us on that a little bit?
Yes. So the two main side effects that we see are nausea and gastrointestinal issues. And for most people,
Gas, bloating, that sort of thing. Is that what you mean by gastro?
yeah, so mostly either constipation or diarrhea. And
Okay.
I don't know why it's
One or the
it's
other.
one
It's
or the
like
other.
the extremes, right? Like,
It seems to be the extremes. Now this may be TMI, but it seemed like I was constipated until my body was like, we got to get rid of all of this, and then it was 2 days of diarrhea, and then it was back. Like it,
well, neither is fun.
it,
We can leave it at that. We
it
can all
neither is
agree.
fun.
Whoever's listening, we
That
can agree that neither of those is fun.
it was not fun, but I still would have, I am fine with the results, I
Sure.
guess.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, but those were the two results. Mostly when we say people aren't reacting very well, it's they are feeling nauseous all the time.
Yeah.
They, um, just feel horrible, feel like they need to throw up. A lot of people, not a lot of people, some people on the extremes throw up a lot.
Really.
Um,
Hmm.
and and generally we find that most people the symptoms are more severe on Ozempic than on Tirzepatide.
Really interesting.
Yes.
Is that
The
because the other? I can't remember what you said. GIL or
GIP, yeah.
GIP. Is that because of that? Is it included in it, or is it just something completely different?
It's that. That is the only difference between the medications is that GIP.
That in most cases, some cases seems to allow people to be able to stomach it. No
Hmm.
pun intended.
Yeah.
More than the Ozempic.
Yes.
Okay.
But I will say, it I don't know the exact percentages because we've had a lot of people come through our clinic over the past 18 months. But I can only remember 4 or 5 who had such severe side effects immediately that they were like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Um, they have mostly been mild, manageable. It's just that on semaglutide, it is more noticeable than on Tirzepatide.
Okay.
Our doctor, he says, hey, I would occasionally feel nauseous. I would go open up a can of Diet Coke, drink it in the morning. I'd be fine. Um, so most people can just manage it that way.
That's our dad's go-to for almost everything that
It
he's
it really is. Diet Coke will fix anything,
crack a Diet Coke and we're gonna be good.
and we'll be fine. So
No.
he said that we've noticed that making sure that you are eating smaller meals throughout the day, that really helps. Eating
Yeah.
first thing, make sure you're eating at breakfast with, high protein, not sugar, things
Sure.
like that. And it really helps as well. For rare cases, our physicians will prescribe like Zofran,
Okay.
but we
Which
usually
for some listeners that don't know, that is a anti-nausea medicine, correct?
yes, yes. And then but most people can get by if they're nauseous with like over-the-counter Dramamine or Meclizine, and that's just fine. If it's more severe, Zofran, which is anti-nausea, will absolutely help. And so, in most cases, we're not a proponent of let's, subscribe a medication and then we'll prescribe something else so that you can cover those side effects. And then we'll prescribe something else to cover those. And it's this endless cycle of whatever. But it really does, in this case, the health benefits of losing weight, and we've talked about some of those, in previous podcasts, but the health benefits of losing weight and getting, healthier and all of that outweigh the potential side effect of, yeah, I took a Zofran for a little bit and that was fine.
Okay.
So mostly, and it mostly ends there. I'm not aware of anyone who's taken a Zofran and said, yeah, I took a Zofran and then this happened or whatever. So it's not like there are just this endless side effect of prescription
Sure.
that's managed, all the way down. But for some people that is a concern. What side effects am I going to feel from this? Is it going to cause lasting problems? Am I going to,
Yeah.
and for most people, it is completely manageable if they feel it at all.
Yeah.
All right. And we also, I want to talk about dosing for just a little bit because that's, something that helps. We don't immediately jump up to the higher doses. We start off at a very small dose with everyone we put on the medication so that we can get them acclimated to the medications.
Okay.
And then every 4 weeks, we can move up, in dose if appropriate.
Sure.
And so we start off on a small, minimal dose, and then virtually everyone jumps up to the next dose up. And then after that, you are free to stay there if it's working. It's like if you need 2 ibuprofen, you don't take 4 every time.
Yeah, it works exactly.
If it's working, we're not gonna increase it, and but if we need to increase it, we can. We do it every 4 weeks so you get your body to acclimate to the medication rather than giving you the highest dose all at once, and then you're going to get hit with all of those side effects and just feel weird and jittery and hard. It's like,
yeah,
we do it responsibly, and that's why it's managed by a physician so that it's done right. We're making sure that it's safe, that we do it the right way so your body can acclimate to it, and if there are any issues, we can stop it immediately. It's best to do it the right way rather than go wild west and then have a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah, exactly. No, that makes a lot of sense. I got one more question for you.
Okay.
Wrap this up unless you have anything else. But what do you recommend that your patients do in addition to taking these medications? What's the regimen? What do you encourage them to do? Obviously, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? Mm-hmm. So, in an ideal world or a optimal world, if you had a patient that came in and they went through the process and they found that yes, one of these 2 medications is going to be beneficial, for taking this medication, what on top of that are you asking them or encouraging them, prescribing them to do?
Right. Well, the first thing is when you are on any weight loss regimen, when you're on any calorie deficit, and this, if you aren't doing resistance training, if you aren't eating enough protein, you're going to lose muscle mass. And to a certain degree, you're going to lose a little bit of muscle mass no matter how much.
Yeah. Well, that's fair, even if you aren't taking these medications, right? Like if you're preparing for a show or you're just wanting to go on a cut to lean up for the summer, like you will probably most likely lose some lean muscle mass along the way, right?
Exactly.
You need to take those measures, like you said, eating enough protein, resistance training, prioritizing sleep, all the things we've touched on up to this point. Um, so that you minimize that. That's the name of the game. Like if I'm preparing for a bodybuilding show, I'm
Hmm.
going to get as big as I can, and you want to put on as much lean mass as you possibly can, right?
Right.
But along the way, you're going to put on fat. That's just the idea of bulking. Like
Right.
you're going to put on some body fat. But then on the flip side, as you then go into the cut and you're trying to lose that body fat, most of what you lose will be fat, but there's a very high likelihood that you will lose muscle mass, and so it's mitigating that. So
Right.
not to hijack the conversation or the question, but it sounds like it's very, very similar
It is.
in any regard. No matter what your goals are, no matter what supplements you're taking, that protein and weight resistance training are something that needs to be prioritized.
Absolutely. And that's what we tell everyone. You have got to be doing some kind of exercise, and you absolutely have to be making sure you're getting enough protein at a minimum. I know you and I have talked about macro plans and the zero point 0.7 to point 1.2 per pound of your goal weight or whatever is what you should be aiming for protein.
Mm-hmm.
We generally say like bare minimum if you want to be successful is you need to at least, if you're a woman, get 70 grams of protein. If you're a man, 100.
Yeah.
Um, that's what both of our doctors recommend. I, of course, recommend more because I think it's really important, not just because of, helping maintain muscle mass, but it helps with satiety. It helps with a
Yeah.
lot of different things. And so anyway, protein, resistance training, water, sleep, the things that we've talked about. If I had my way, I would put every single person on a macro plan and uh an exercise routine, even if that's 10 or 20 minutes a day of body weight exercises, something to activate your muscles and try and keep you from losing the gains that you already have. Now the problem with this medication is people use it as a magic bullet, and it's not. It's a tool. It is a tool to help you lose weight. And the way it does that is by making it easier for you to be in a caloric deficit. So
Yeah.
you don't want to eat as much because you're full sooner. You feel full longer, and your
Yeah.
brain is signaled that, hey, I don't need to eat anymore. It does amazing things.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that if you go to Starbucks and get the 2,000 calorie grande supersized whipped cream double, I don't even know. You can tell that I don't drink coffee and I've never actually been to Starbucks, but you
Yeah.
get, that super sugary coffee drink in the morning and or go to, McDonald's and get a supersized lunch that, like, it's still calories in, calories out. And if you are eating calorie dense foods and unhealthy foods, you are still going to be gaining weight.
Yeah.
And so, watching what you're eating, protein, lean meats, whatever, the stuff that we talk about all the time, we've talked about on our previous episodes. Those are the things that you need to do to be most effective because you're going to eat less because you're not going to be as hungry,
Yeah.
but it's a tool. Eventually you will stop unless you want to pay, you know, 200 or 350 bucks a month for the rest of your life. You're going to reach your goal weight and you're going to, stop taking the medication. And if you aren't careful, you're going to gain all of that weight back because the medication is going to stop working. You're going to start feeling hungry again, and you're going to eat until you're full, which is going to be more than what you've been eating in the past, and you're going to
Yep.
gain that weight back. And so you have to, while you're on it, learn how to recognize when you're full,
Sure.
eat the things that are going to help you maintain your weight. You need to, this is why we love macro plans because you can easily get yourself into a calorie deficit on a macro plan, and then you can easily adjust it to, maintain weight,
Yep,
seeing
exactly.
what you need to eat to stay where you are and, build muscle and progress past your goal weight. And that's the main downside to these medications. And that's what we try and tell everyone who comes in is, hey, you're going to lose weight, but if you're not careful, you're going to be back in 6 months and you're going to have wasted the 12 or $1,500 that you spent over the last 4 months because you're going to be giving it back to us.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty common no matter what avenue you're taking to lose weight, right?
Mhm.
Whether that's, these fad diets, or whether you're like, I'm going to do paleo, or I'm going to do carnivore, or I'm going to do intermittent fasting, or I'm going to do semaglutide. Like, yes, if you commit to that, you will lose weight, but that's not the end goal, right? The
Right.
end goal, that's a byproduct. But what, as us in the fitness industry, medical industry, like, we want you to be healthy for the rest of your life, and
Right.
not just to have this up and down yo-yo dieting type thing, right? It's
Right.
all about creating new habits, right? And empowering and educating our clients on, this is what you need to do, and these are the changes you need to make.
Hmm.
You can have the life that you are telling us that you want.
Right.
They come in and they see you and they want to, lose 30 pounds, right?
Yep.
Great. You don't want to just lose 30 pounds. You want the life that's going to be that's going to come after losing that 30 pounds. You're
Right.
going to have less, stress on your joints. You're going to be able to get down on the ground and play with your kids, your grandkids. You're going to be able to walk and run and get out of bed, like climb stairs without being winded. That's what you want. It's not that you want to lose 30 pounds. You want to have this new change of life.
Right.
And in order to maintain that, it's not just losing the pounds, but it's then understanding, in order to stay where I am once we get off the Ozempic, or once we get off a fitness program, it's about knowing what I need to do moving forward to stay there.
Exactly.
I can reap the benefits of that hard work, because it is hard work,
It
regardless of
is.
what you're doing, right? Like, I
Hmm.
hear a lot of people talk about Ozempic as kind of like a cheat drug. It's like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's hard either way,
Right.
right? That's going to help you get to where you want to be. And in the process, you can learn to change your behaviors and your habits and maintain that lifestyle that you want. Or I guess maybe you can change your habits to maintain the lifestyle that you're hoping to have.
Right.
Right? That's it. No matter what that process looks like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's But it's harder and it's more difficult to not do the hard thing and then reap the consequences of, not doing the hard thing, taking the easy way, right?
Right.
And or not learning, not changing, not implementing the things that you've been taught or that you need to do, because then eventually it's going to catch up to you.
Right. Well, I mean, you see it everywhere, and it's sad that that's the way that it is because most of us don't want that. I don't want to say don't want that perspective. We don't necessarily want to do the work for the rest of our lives,
Yeah.
and then it causes problems. But I remember when I had my weight loss surgery 6 years ago. That was something that they stressed. They're like, we have people who lose a whole bunch of weight on this, and then they gain it all back because they don't change any habits. They just,
Yeah.
and so unfortunately, people spend this, a lot of money on their surgery or on Ozempic or on fitness coaches and plans and gym memberships. I've probably spent $50,000 over the last 14 years on my, weight loss journey. And when I added it all up, it almost made me sick. It was like, what are you doing? But to now think about it and think, do I really want to have wasted all of that money on all of that money and all of that time and that hard work and not learn from it? And that's not to say that I'm perfect or any of us are, but you know, do I want to have done all of that in vain and then have to re-lose all of that weight again?
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's a real concern. And I think that's why, whether it's coaching, whether it's Ozempic, whether it's you know, anything in life that you have some significant skin in the game,
Mhm.
you're going to be aware of that, right? If it's not painful, whether it's financially, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, like then you don't stick to it, right? Like
Right.
and I shouldn't say, I mean, if you don't stick to it, right? Like if I charge $100 for a fitness plan, right? A 6 month 6 month coaching fitness plan, like people are going to be like, oh yeah, $100, I can do that. But then guess what? $100 doesn't mean anything,
Right.
right? And it's like I'm going to forget about that tomorrow. And
Right.
then when I'm unmotivated and I can't drum up the discipline to get up and to follow my program and to cook my food and to meal prep and stay within my my calorie limits or thresholds. Like it's like, oh, whatever, I paid
Right.
$100 for it, it's not a big deal. But if it makes you kind of think and squirm, and it's like, okay, if I'm going to pay this, I'm going to do everything that I can to make
Right.
sure I get to the ROI that would come from that. And that goes for, anything in life, really.
Right.
Certainly fitness and wellness and our health.
Absolutely.
But
Um, so that's the main thing I always point out, and I'll leave it on that. It's a tool.
yeah.
All of these things are tool. Coaching is a tool. Your
Mhm.
gym membership is a tool. Your anything that you invest into your journey is going to be a tool, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
If you don't actually take the initiative and learn and do what do the things that we talk about and that every, fitness model is based around, then you're going to not sustain the results.
Absolutely. And that's what we're after too, right? Like as coaches, as medical professionals, whatever it is, like we want you to see the results that you're hoping for, and we want those to be sustainable.
Absolutely.
And so we're it's interesting because as a fitness coach, I'm rooting for my clients, right? Like
Mhm.
I don't want them to take a 6 month program with me. Like by the time we're done with a 6 month program, I want to have empowered them and taught them well enough that
Right.
they know, for the most part, maybe their goals change or maybe they need this or that, whatever. But they know here's the basic macro plan. This is what I need to eat. This is the workout regimen. This is how I need to prioritize, like all those things. So that then once that program is over, they're empowered to go out and do and make choices that are going to help sustain the goals that they're after. And same thing with you, right?
Right.
It's like you don't want repeat customers. This isn't like let's get our hooks in you and just keep you coming back forever, right?
Right.
Like so it's every single month I get a customer, it's going to be 300, $400, right?
Mhm.
That's not what we're after.
Right.
That's not what we're trying to do in the fitness and the health industries. We're trying to help you become the best version of yourself,
Right.
whatever that looks like, according to your goals, and empower you and give you the tools to get there.
Right. And it's sad. I wish I had known this 18 months ago. Because when I did it, I had been through, one, I'd had your help creating a macro plan and a workout plan directly after my surgery that I've been more or less following for 6 years. But I'd learned how to recognize when I was full and to stop eating and eat slower and all of these things that we talk about so that I didn't gain the weight back. And so when I started taking these medications and lost the weight, I instinctively knew what to do.
Mhm.
Um, and it wasn't until after 6 or 8 months when I started having people who had lost weight and then start coming back that I thought, what, why is
Yeah.
Brian coming back? And
Sure.
and so my last 6 months here have been really about turning it into more than just a drug deal
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm not interested in repeat customers. I don't want to hook someone and have them be around, for the
Yeah.
rest of our existence. As much as a good business model as that would be for, financially, I feel
Sure.
like I'm cheating people if I don't tell them these things and teach them what they need to do while they're on it to, sustain their results. And unfortunately, not a lot of places probably feel the same, you know? Or maybe I that's being disingenuous, but you see these online pharmacies and all of these things, and I don't know because I haven't been through them, but I don't know if they're, if you get that human touch where it's like, hey, you need to do this. It's more like, hey, you're gonna lose weight, dot
Yep.
dot dot dot,
Yep.
you know.
No,
And
for sure.
so I try and tell everyone, whether they come to our clinic or not or anything that like, it's a tool you need to learn now so that when you're done, you don't have to pay 225 or 350 a month to keep it off.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's funny not to get in off topic and to start talking about business, but it's like, yeah, that is a great business model. Like you want to get I mean, not that I'm a proponent of the tobacco industry, right? But like,
Mhm.
smoking cigarettes, people get addicted and then they're repeat customers every day, every week,
Mhm.
whatever it is, right?
Right.
Whether that's ethically or morally right, I'm not going to get into that situation right now. But in a fitness industry or a wellness industry, I feel like the opposite is the better of the two, right? Because like you could just not inform your customers and then they just have to keep coming back because they don't
Mhm.
know how to change their life. They don't know how to keep the weight off. So they just rely on these weight loss medications, right?
Mhm.
But if you can empower them and
Right.
teach them, and then they themselves can sustain those results, they're going to be your advertising. They're going to be your marketing.
Exactly.
You can then, because people are inevitably like, I'm sure you had it all the time. Trev, what did you do? You look so great. How did you lose so much weight? What was your
Mhm.
secret? What are you doing?
Right.
You're like, oh, well, yeah, I went to Ultimate Weight Loss Clinic and this is what they helped me do. And I learned this and that. Boom, that person is going to then want to go and be a client to you.
Right.
And so it's kind of like results based advertising versus let's get our hooks in you and just,
Bleed
kind
you
of
dry.
exactly like make you dependent upon us
Right.
so that we can then, add to our bottom line.
Right.
So anyway, off
Anyway,
off my rant there.
I but it's the important rant that I want you to have success. It's like the same thing. You want your client to lose weight and gain muscle and hit their goals, and then they're like, so I worked
Friends and
with
their family and their coworkers.
uh-huh.
Hey,
What
what
did
did
you
you do?
do?
Oh
I
yeah,
went
I
to
got a great
Brian and
coach.
he
This
he
is
whipped my butt into shape and he gave me the tools I needed and he cheered me on and he helped me and look where I am now. You should go to him because he is fantastic. And that's
yeah,
what we want
exactly.
in both of our industries. We would
Yep.
rather have walking billboards
Yeah.
than, you know,
And
repeat
a handful
customers.
of customers that just keep coming back every single month because we're gatekeeping information and not
Right.
we're not being I want to say ethical, right? Like
Right.
we're not empowering them and giving them everything that we know that would help them for the
Right.
sake of them just being a constant, subscription almost type customer where it's like every month I know they're going to come back because
Right.
no idea what they're doing, but they know that if they just keep taking this medication or they keep, doing what, Brian's telling them to do as a coach, they're
Right.
going to be where they want to be. And it's like, no, that's not what we're about.
Right.
And I think most of the fitness industry is probably that way. Wellness industry is that way. I'm sure there's some that aren't, but
Right.
most part, it's, we're trying to empower you.
Right.
We do this because we care. Like, yeah, we need to get paid and compensated to a, fair degree,
Right.
but not to the point where we're going to, limit what you're able to do and what your capabilities are in
Right.
whatever industry that is, goals, fitness, loss, muscle building, it doesn't matter. Like we're here to help. We're
Right.
so
Well, and it's, to beat this horse to death, it's it's like I found something that works that helped me lose 70 pounds, and I want to help someone else lose 70 pounds.
yeah,
You have found something that works for you and a way to discipline, and you've understood how to lift weights and do cardio and understand the body. You want to help people too. Like, we're not content to just hoard that information for ourselves.
yeah,
We want to help other people the same way that we have seen results. And I
exactly.
think I think a lot of people, feel that way when they get into the industry that we're in because they want to help people, I guess. I don't know. You don't go into, I don't want to say you don't go into being a fitness coach to get rich, but I don't know, you know.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, it's seeing it, it's the money is great, right? Like no matter what your
Right.
career is, no matter what you're doing, whether you're a CEO, whether you're building a company, whether you're in real estate, fitness, medical profession, it doesn't matter. Like money is important, right? But I think where you find the most joy is setting the money aside,
Hmm.
seeing the results that you've been able to help your clients, your customers achieve, right?
Right.
For me, my entire life, like I've really enjoyed seeing something from, here's point A, whether it's fitness, whether it's landscaping, whether it's, building things, it doesn't matter. Like I
Right.
like to see this is where we are, this is our end goal, and here's our journey. It's not going to be linear, it's going to be up and down. It can be, pretty crappy at sometimes, but you can see this is our starting point, this is where we've gotten.
Yeah.
And hopefully, in most, if not all cases, that's a positive slope, right? The
Right.
trajectory is good. And that's what really, really fulfills you as a human being.
Right.
It's seeing the impact that you've had on, whatever industry you're in, whatever your goals are, whatever you're trying to accomplish. You've seen that you've put in time and effort, and here's the result that you were hoping for.
Right.
So I think that's where, like I said, most of the fitness industry, the medical industry, that's where they are.
Right.
That's their goal. That's why they get into it. Is because they're passionate about helping others
Hmm.
achieve their goals, find the knowledge and have the understanding that's needed to be able to have a body that's healthy enough to live the life that they want.
Right.
So anyway,
All right. Well,
I
we
think
uh we could
we have
ramble on
gone
this forever.
over, I think, a lot, right?
Uh-huh.
So anyway, how can people find you? Tell us where, if people are interested in semaglutide, Tirzepatide, these types of things, how can they get a hold of you? Give us that information.
Yeah, if you're in Utah, go to our website, ultimatemedicalweightloss.com. You can email me, Trevor at ultimatemedicalweightloss.com. We're also on Instagram, and YouTube. You can comment, DM, anything there. You can, my gosh, I don't even know what my actual Instagram personal handle is, but um
Pretty sure it's Trevor Smith 22.
it might be Trevor Smith 22. You can find me on
You
Instagram.
spammed me the last 18 hours of just
You're
golf and baseball content, which I appreciate and I love. I'm glad that I'm
right.
worthy of scamming, but I'm pretty sure it's Trevor Smith 22.
It's Trevor Smith 22. You can find me on Instagram. And if you want to send me all the baseball content, please do. I love this time of year and whatever. But what about you? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can email me at Brian at behimfit.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at b.him.fit. That's my handle. Not the easiest thing to say, but you can find it. If you search Be Him Fit, I'm sure it'll pull up.
Yeah.
You can find me there. If you have any questions, DM me. If you're looking for, advice or a coach on whatever your goals are, reach out. We can see if we're a good fit and we can go from there. But we really appreciate you all. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, follow these posts on all or follow our podcasts and all the main podcast platforms. And we will talk to you next week.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Catch you later.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.